Everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you followed our Docker series, you already have a good foundation to build on. If you're joining us just now, we do highly recommend you to go for those videos first. They'll help a lot with what's coming next. Because starting today, we are kicking off a brand new series on Git and GitHub. We'll be covering very foundation, so starting from the very basics of version control. We'll also be going through managing our own repositories and even automating some of the workflows with GitHub Actions. So without further ado, let's get started. Now the question is, have you ever messed up a Git commit and completely panicked? Because if you have, don't worry about it. You're not the only one. Git is absolutely our safety net. In this video, we'll be particularly focusing on what is version control. We will also go through some comparisons between Git and other VCS. We'll also go through the differences between Git and GitHub itself. And lastly, we'll be covering all the details about repositories themselves. Before we dive into commands, let's get clear on what version control actually means. There are different definitions, but I would like to, let's say, picture this as a time machine that we use for our projects. It helps us track every single change we make to our code. So if we need to roll back to previous versions in case, for instance, something breaks, or we want to show, let's say, who changed what or when this actually happened, which is something we frequently used in a day-to-day situations. It also allows us to create branches to test new ideas in a safely manner. So later on, we can merge them back if they actually turned out to be working successfully. So as DevOps engineers, version control is really our backbone. So any, let's say, CI/CD pipeline will ever be working on building in different tools, taking, let's say, as an example, GitHub Actions or even Jenkins or GitLab CI itself. We'll always be starting with Git commits. Essentially, without it, one mistake could really make us, let's say, lose hours and hours of work. And by utilizing Git, every step is pretty much organized and it is recoverable and safe throughout the organization and also people we're collaborating with. Now, you might be wondering, why Git? Aren't there any other tools out there that we could use? And absolutely, that is the case. Here's the list of some of the other VCS or alternatives. So I'm going to start with CVS, which is one of the oldest ones out there. Reliable, but let's say in certain ways also outdated. SVN, centralized. Everyone depends on a single server, which is not so great for modern distributed teams. Mercurial, similar to Git, but seems to be less popular these days. And last but not least, we've put on this list is Perforce, super powerful, used in big game studios, but not too commercial. Git, in a summary, won because it's distributed, fast and reliable, backed by a huge community. So if you do ever want to ask some questions or contribute to resolving a particular problem, there is a big community out there that you can contribute to. That's why also platforms like GitHub, GitLab and Bitbucket are built on top of it. Now, here's a common confusion between Git and GitHub. I would like you to think of Git as a tool that we run on our local computer, on our local machine. It actually tracks our project's history. Whilst GitHub itself is an online service that essentially stores all of our repositories together, and it makes the collaboration between us and our colleagues, developers, easier, and lets you also show your work publicly. So if you're particularly working on a project, or if you're building up your portfolio as well, that you might want to potentially show to your future employers, then this is one of the ways you can also do that. So think of Git as your personal notebook. So GitHub itself is a shared online library where everyone can contribute to, and Git is just a collection of your work that with the tool like GitHub you make publicly visible and accessible. So we're going to have here an on-screen demonstration, let's say an animation of how this works in a very simple example. So here we have our local repository on our laptop. We then work on a code. We work on developing a certain piece of code. When we're happy with it, it might be a first version that we would like to commit our code to the local repository. So this is all happening on our laptop, our computer. And then once we're happy, we push those changes to our remote repository, which is happening on GitHub. All of those changes are actually being tracked on GitHub with the amount of commits that we also have on the repository itself. This repository is now remote. It's actually residing on GitHub and is publicly visible in this specific example. And if someone else would like to contribute to our repository or work aside together with us on this specific piece of code, they can also clone our repository on their local machine. So you can see a very simple example and a complete cycle of how we can use this in real life. Lastly, I would like to cover what exactly is a repository. So some people call it repository or repo. Short for repository is essentially our project's central hub. So it contains all the information, let's say documentation about what we're working on, our code, and let's say full history of changes that we've applied to this repository. So inside Git, we have three key areas. The first one is working directory. So this is where you make changes to your files. We then have a staging area, which is a preparation zone where we mark changes we want to commit. And a repository is actually the database of all the committed snapshots that make up our project's history. So when you're essentially ready, you stage these changes and then you commit them where you're essentially creating a permanent snapshot of your work. All right, so we've come to the end of a very, very short video on Git and GitHub. If you found this helpful, please do not forget to like, share and subscribe, especially if you're new to this and you would also like to share with someone else who is just starting their journey on DevOps. In the next video, we'll be focusing on setting up Git and also our own very first repository. So we'll go step by step on that. And thank you so much for being here with us today. And we'll see you in the next video very soon. Ciao, ciao.